You are not here to play small. You are here to architect an empire that already exists at the highest level of creation. You are at a crossroads. This moment right now is a timeline selection. You either move into full alignment with your highest self or remain trapped in cycles of limitation, hesitation, and false narratives. There is no in between. Most people don't break through not because they lack intelligence, or strategy, or resources, but because they don't recognize their own power. They default to limitation instead of choosing alignment. Every billionaire, every empire builder, every true architect of reality moved differently before the world caught up. They weren't waiting for proof, they were the proof. The difference between those who reach billionaire status and those who never move past scarcity, they recognized and claimed what was already theirs. There was no doubt, no hesitation, no need for permission, only full embodied execution. If you don't have the right blueprint, if you don't have the right internal architecture, if you don't have the right alignment, your default into a timeline that was never meant for you. This is why people get trapped. They keep trying to earn what was already secured for them. They stay attached to an outdated self, making decisions from scarcity instead of inevitability. They hesitate, doubt, overthink, while true power players move without hesitation. And if you're watching this right now, you already feel it. You know you weren't meant for small moves. You know the empire was always waiting. You know you're done hesitating. This is the moment everything shifts. From now on, your decisions will no longer come from limitation. The billionaire version of you is already moving. It's time to catch up. What happens next is entirely up to you. The blueprint is being installed and the execution is yours. Let's begin. Let me break down the hard truth about why most people fail. Most people fail because they lack, or most people don't fail because they lack intelligence or resources. They fail because they keep making decisions from an outdated identity. If you're still thinking like a six-figure entrepreneur, you will never build a billion-dollar empire. Your highest self already owns everything you're chasing. So why are you still acting like you have something to prove? The problem isn't the market. It's not the economy. It's not even your strategy. It's the fact that you are still making moves from a version of yourself that no longer exists. Every decision, every habit, every hesitation is either reinforcing limitation or aligning you with inevitability. Most people stay stuck because they keep trying to scale without first upgrading their internal operating system. Now, this is the big shift, moving like your highest self. Because when you stop operating from fear, scarcity, and smallness, reality reorganizes around you. Here's what happens when you lock in to your highest timeline: money, it moves to you instead of you chasing it. Most entrepreneurs still think wealth is earned. The elite know it's claimed. When you move with certainty, the world responds. Power consolidates around your vision effortlessly. You don't beg for attention. You don't convince people to see your value. You don't do any of these things. You become the gravitational force that others move towards. And the right people, the deals, the opportunities show up in perfect timing. This isn't magic, it's resonance. When you hold the frequency of someone who already has it, the external world aligns accordingly. Reality bends to match the empire you have already claimed. You are not building in real time. You are stepping into what was already secured. The only variable is how fast you let go of hesitation. And here's a critical question that I have for you. Are you playing like someone who already owns it? Because if not, your decisions will keep reinforcing your current limitations. Stop making six-figure decisions if you're scaling to nine. Stop second guessing moves your highest self would execute without hesitation. Stop proving and start claiming. Your empire is already waiting. The only question is, will you move like you know it? Now, here's the hard truth. If your life feels like it's breaking apart right now, it's not because you're failing. It's because something misaligned is finally being corrected. Timelines don't progress, they are selected. Every moment, you are choosing alignment or misalignment. Every decision is locking in your future reality. And when something collapses, it means the distortion can no longer sustain itself. The biggest mistake people make, they try to hold together what was never meant to last. Let it fall, let it break, let it dissolve. The highest timeline already exists, but you cannot carry dead weight into it. Now, let's break down why timelines collapse. It's because they were never real to begin with. If a business is built on short term survival instead of long term scalability, it collapses. If a relationship is built on codependency instead of alignment, it collapses. If an empire is built on illusion instead of structure, it collapses. What isn't real cannot sustain itself. There is no negotiation with this. There is no saving it. When collapse happens, people make two choices. They accept reality and align instantly, or they resist and get dragged through the destruction. The more you resist the collapse, the more violently it falls apart. If you're experiencing constant breakdowns, it's not because you're unlucky. It's because you're still trying to hold together something that's already dead. Now, how do you know if you're on the wrong timeline? If things are taking extreme effort just to stay functional, if every step forward creates more resistance, if you are exhausted from holding it together, when you're aligned, the opposite happens. Growth feels inevitable. Opportunity appears in perfect timing. The right people and resources lock in effortlessly. And if your reality feels like a constant struggle, it's not because life is hard, it's because you're still operating in a timeline that should have collapsed long ago. Now let's break down rapture events. This is when timelines split. So a rapture event is the quantum moment when two timelines can no longer coexist. It is not punishment. It is structural inevitability. When distortion reaches critical mass, collapse becomes instant. Now, how do you know when you're in a rapture event? People, systems, and opportunities that were previously stable begin to dissolve overnight. Resistance intensifies. Everything misaligned starts to fight for survival. The separation between aligned and misaligned timelines becomes painfully obvious. And at this moment, two realities emerge. One, the timeline of effortless acceleration, and two, the timeline of total collapse. If you are aligned, things move forward with ease. If you are resisting, you experience struggle, chaos, and breakdowns. The worst thing you can do in a rapture event is try to hold on to what is falling apart. If it's collapsing, let it. If people are leaving, let them. If the business model is breaking, rebuild it correctly. Most people fall and fail here because they refuse to let go. They fight for a version of their life that was never real in the first place. They chase clients, relationships, or business strategies that already expired. They try to fix things that are meant to be abandoned. You have two choices: surrender, align, and accelerate, or cling to the past, resist, and suffer through the collapse. The highest timeline has already been built. The only question is, will you step into it? Or will you keep trying to hold together something that was never built to last? If it's not built for the highest timeline, let it burn. If it's not scaling with ease, release it. If it's trying to collapse, let it collapse faster. The empire that was meant for you is already secured. Now, what happens after a timeline collapses? This is where the separation becomes undeniable. For those who are aligned, the transition is seamless. There is no destruction or resistance, only effortless movement forward. The highest timeline does not require struggle. It does not require effort. It only requires recognition. But for those still attached to distortion, they experience the full collapse. They realize too late that they were never in control. Some recognize the collapse for what it is and shift at the last second. Others dissolve along with the illusion they refuse to let go of. Now, why does this happen? Well, most people don't understand this. Timelines don't end, they collapse under their own misalignment. You don't lose what was real, you only lose what was never sustainable. The only thing that falls apart is what was built from fear, scarcity, and resistance. The only thing that remains is what was always inevitable. Now, the two paths of alignment versus collapse. At this stage, every person, every business, every empire moves into One of two realities. The ones aligned with the highest timeline transition effortlessly. Their path continues upward, momentum increasing without resistance. There is no hesitation, only movement. They do not look back. The ones still holding on to distortion experience the full disintegration. They attempt to hold on to the collapsing structure. They fight the inevitable, trying to rebuild what was never meant to last. And in that resistance, they dissolve. The truth, there is no battle, only separation. No one is being left behind. They're choosing their own collapse. Now, this is the moment of no return. There comes a moment in every transition where timelines no longer interact. That moment is now. There is no need to fight. There is no need to convince. There is no need to pull anyone forward who refuses to move. The ones meant to transition will. The ones meant to dissolve will. The highest timeline is already secured. So, what does this mean for you? If you are still experiencing hesitation, doubt, or attachment to what is collapsing, let this be the final confirmation. The highest version of you has already moved forward. If you are feeling resistance, it's only because you haven't fully let go of the lower timeline. The moment you recognize this, all friction disappears. You do not need to choose the highest timeline, it's already chosen you. You only need to step into what is already yours. This is not a test. This is a confirmation. Move. Most entrepreneurs are trying to scale from their current identity. This is why they stay stuck. You do not become a billionaire. You collapse time and step into the version of yourself where it's already done. Step one, identity recalibration. This is the shift from builder to architect. The biggest mistake? Entrepreneurs stay in operator mode instead of becoming the architect. If your decisions are still based on short term revenue, you are not building an empire, you are running a high paying job. The shift from how do I scale to what is the $1 billion version of me doing right now? Step two, quantum business mapping. You build from the end result. Most people think wealth is a staircase. It's not. It's a pre existing structure. You don't climb to billions, you align with the reality where it already exists. So ask yourself, what does my offer look like at the $1 billion level? What does my company structure look like? What does my wealth architecture look like? What is my investment vehicle for long term wealth preservation? If your business model can't scale to billions, you're already misaligned. Step three, install the billionaire decision matrix. The biggest difference between billionaires and everyone else, they do not make decisions based on current circumstances. They make decisions based on what is already inevitable. Instead of asking, how can I afford this? How do I get to $1 million months? What if it doesn't work? Ask, what would the billionaire version of me do today? What infrastructure must I install now? What systems remove me from the process? Step four, build your wealth infrastructure. This is beyond business revenue. A business does not make you wealthy, the infrastructure does. Billionaires don't just make money, they build wealth ecosystems. Your wealth ecosystems must include high profit, scalable business models, diversified investments that build generational wealth, assets that generate income without requiring your time, legal and financial structures that protect and multiply wealth. If your current business can't scale without you, you don't have an empire. You have a job. Now, step 5, collapse time. Operate as the billionaire now. You are not working towards billions. You are shifting into the version of you where billions are inevitable. If you wait until you have billions to operate at that level, you will never get there. If you start making decisions from that level now, reality aligns instantly. The shift is instant when you decide, I will no longer make small moves. I no longer operate from hesitation. I only build from inevitability. Now, this is the moment. This is the decision. If you are done making small moves, if you are done hesitating, if you are done waiting for permission to step into your highest timeline, then this is where it all locks in. This is the ultimate quantum destiny activation blueprint. This is not a concept. This is the exact framework that installs your billionaire empire model at quantum speed. What happens when you activate this? Well, there's no more figuring it out. It's already coded into you. You collapse time and remove every delay between you and your empire. You start making decisions as the highest version of yourself now. Your revenue, power, and influence expand at the speed of alignment. Your energy shifts. Your frequency locks in. You move differently, and everything responds. This is not a program. This is not a course. This is a transmission that rewires how you operate at a core level. This is the activation of the billionaire identity God coded you to step into in this lifetime. You don't have to earn this, you only have to claim it. Now, how do you lock in your activation? Well, drop activate in the comments if you're ready to step into your inevitable empire. DM me Destiny if you want the full blueprint personalized to who you were always meant to be. This is the shift. This is the confirmation. Move accordingly.